Dominating in the streaming market, Netflix has created annual revenue from $1.2 billion to over $11.6 billion in 10 years. With achieving 120 million subscribers overall, Netflix has officially entered its second phase of growth, with waning growth in the US and accelerating growth internationally. Netflix has forecasted that the domestic US market will be saturated at between 60 to 90 million subscribers. As the domestic growth appears to be topping out, Netflix has placed an emphasis on expansion internationally. The latest research results show that international subscriber growth is accelerating, with 40% net addition growth. As Netflix has expanded operation in developed nations already, the company will need to focus on growing revenue in the domestic market while still piling on international subscribers. However, maintaining the number one place in the streaming industry is going to be hard. The Netflix business model does have some areas of concern. In this presentation, we shall do both analysis of external and internal components of the company to figure out some recommendations for Netflix in the future. We will start with an external analysis of Netflix by using Porter's 5 forces. The threat of entry. New streaming services are likely to enter the market while traditional producers of movies and television will intensify their focus on becoming streaming providers. Disney and Apple are planning a rollout of their streaming services in the near future. These companies have, as Amazon before them, brand names and big cash flows. Disney already owns the licenses of some of the largest movie and TV franchises, think Marvel and Star Wars, and may become the only platform where these can be viewed. Social media channels such as Snapchat and Facebook are also creating their own produced content that will be aired exclusively on their platforms. While these platforms will spring up soon and cause a significant amount of worry for Netflix, the threat of entry is still only moderate, as there is a limit to the number of companies that can enter the industry. To become a significant streaming service today, a company needs to invest a large amount of cash into marketing, but also in creating original content. The threat of substitutes that the streaming industry faces is that of other video entertainment services. These may be traditional media, such as TV and cinema. However, cable providers are losing their TV customers at a growing rate, while streaming or over-the-top services are gaining customers at an even larger rate. People want more content, more choice, and more convenience. Switching from cable to streaming offers also a lower price for most people. Other online video services, mainly YouTube, also offer a threat to Netflix, as their often shorter segments offer a substitute product to streaming videos and TV shows. Although many substitute products for on-demand video streaming are in decline, they remain a threat, though a decreasing one. With a rapid rate of change in technology, Netflix will likely face the threat of new and innovative substitutes such as YouTube in the future. The bargaining power of buyers or subscribers is moderate. Customers have diversified options and switching costs are low when subscribing to other streaming platforms. In 2011, Netflix encountered strong opposition from their audience when it tried to implement a price-increasing plan. According to a survey in 2016, 17% of Netflix users say they would withdraw from the service if there was a $1 increase in price. The bargaining power of suppliers. The content creators have high level of bargaining power because they have various platforms to deliver their content. In contract negotiations between Netflix and content providers, the suppliers who produce popular shows may charge Netflix an extra premium. As more and more TV studios and movie producers launch their own streaming services, they become less willing to share their content with Netflix. In other words, some of the company's suppliers have become competitors. Another major supplier and enabler of streaming is network and broadband providers. It is speculated that cable operators will seek ways to charge more for broadband services. Canadian internet providers are considering to terminate unrestricted internet usage and charge different price premiums for data volumes. If broadband becomes more expensive, it will pose another threat to Netflix's ability to attract and retain subscribers. The rivalry among existing competitors is relatively moderate. There is a greater concentration of firms in the streaming industry, which means a small number of firms own a large market share that reduces the competition. Netflix is the current dominator in the market share, followed by Amazon and Hulu, the main direct competitors. Amazon has relatively higher competitive advantage. They hold $20 million in cash that can support their expansion in the streaming field. Unlike Netflix, which is a pure streaming service, Amazon comprises of diverse businesses that provide significant funding resources. As expanding to the global market, Netflix also confronts competition with other major networks like CBS and Fox, who have their own streaming video services available on their websites, and apps for streaming devices like Roku, Google Chromecast, Apple TV, and others.
Then let's move on to the internal analysis, and it begins with the value chain analysis. The value chain starts with content that is licensed by other producers or created in-house. Then these contents are aggregated with an internal content management system for global distribution, the content aggregation. After that, the most valuable activity content serving is realized by largely narrowing the physical distance and reducing the time it will take for digital content to travel over the internet to consumers. Local internet service providers transmit the content from Netflix edge caches to the customer. Finally, customers access the content catalog through a Netflix UI on TVs, computers, phones, or other devices and watch the content. Netflix is expanding backwards in the value chain by spending $1.5 billion on original programming in 2017. The most defensible asset is their user data, and they are well positioned to use this information to target new content tailored to their customers. Additionally, they've started down this path by partnering with the Canadian government to produce $400 million worth of new content over the next 5 years in films. With irreplaceable content resource, the number of new users and the loyalty of users will both increase so that it can assist Netflix in the international market expansion over the long term. Netflix is integrating forward with partnerships that capture the last mile from servers to consumers. Netflix has made a conscious decision not to invest directly in building hardware in-house, but instead partners with device manufacturers who make it easy to access Netflix on their devices. For example, partnering with French telecom company Orange in Europe. This approach of integrating with multiple partners allows the company to pass on the risk of keeping up with tech trends while ensuring that it benefits from any advancements. Then we will use SWOT framework to view Netflix more critically. Netflix has a strength of strong market position and brand image in subscription streaming services. Well known throughout the world for its selection and relatively cheap monthly price, it has massive consumer base, over 100 million users viewable in over 119 countries. Netflix has also been successfully producing many high-quality programs of original contents to differentiate and innovate from traditional video streaming. In addition, people are able to binge-watch the series rather than forced to wait each week for a new episode like with traditional television shows. However, Netflix has weaknesses since it's sharply steering its new content spending towards original projects, with approximately 85% of new spending going to original productions. This has resulted in a large increment in debt, adding up to $21.59 billion, as well as negative cash flow of $3 billion. Although the recent bond issue resolves cash flow problems, it adds to the growing debt. The debt-to-equity ratio has risen considerably in the last few years, which indicates a huge financial risk. The second weakness is a decline in its DVD rental service, which used to be the key service. Although its profit margin has remained high, fluctuating between 50 and 58% over the past 2 years, it has seen a steep decline in revenue from $144 million in Q1 2016 to $88 million in Q3 2018. This trend is indicative of the changing preference of consumers as mentioned previously in the threats to substitute section. As we look into the future, with its vast content library, Netflix has the opportunities to expand to other geographies and partner with other companies around the world. It can also create more local content for specific countries and expand to new services such as live streaming to increase subscriber numbers. However, Netflix is also facing the threat of net neutrality repeal. The ability of Internet service provider to restrict the bandwidth can adversely affect its operational costs, as they would incur greater expenses to maintain their current membership growth rate. The company is also suffering from the intensive competition for highly skilled business, product development, technical and other personnel, and the difficulty in recruiting new qualified employees and in retaining and motivating existing staff, which may be disruptive to the company's operations.
Based on the strategic analysis that we have done of the company, the main problem faced by Netflix is the threat of new entrants to the streaming market. Netflix's challenge lies in maintaining their position in the industry, something that will get increasingly difficult as new entrants will increase their focus on becoming dominant streaming providers. These competitors have the finances, user base, brand power, and ability to create original content themselves. At the moment, Netflix has a first mover advantage, but this may change as more diversified competitors enter the industry. To tackle this challenge, Netflix needs to focus on two main areas of improvement. The first is product differentiation. Netflix can diversify their original content by including sports, talk shows, and news. This can help Netflix tap into other markets where they're currently not present and where other providers have domination. By diversifying their portfolio in this way, they're not solely reliant on streaming movies and TV shows, an area where competition will increase. Since the DVD rental service has shown a decline in revenue and generated profits amounting to less than 5% of the company's consolidated profits, the funds for that division can also be invested into segments with higher growth rates. The second area of improvement should be geographical differentiation. Netflix is already operating in a saturated industry in North America and European countries. Expanding their reach to other areas, especially China, will increase their user base. As Netflix is also a content producer, a beginning to this strategy may be to produce content for Chinese streaming platforms such as Tencent Video and iQIYI, and use that as a springboard to launch their other services in the region. Thank you.